Let's talk all about AI in business. It's hosted by Brent Muller. Welcome to the Future Proof Podcast.
Hi, welcome to Future Proofed, the podcast where we decode how CEOs, founders, and execs are working smarter by using AI, data, and automation, and really focused on how emerging tech is impacting business today. If you're looking to future-proof your business, you're definitely in the right place. And before we dive in, if you're a founder, leader, C-suite exec, you're feeling the pressure to grow faster with leaner teams, basically the mantra of, hey, we need to do more with less. Hey, that's where AI solutions can really help empower your current team. Happy to talk to you guys about that. There's links in the show notes. No pitch, 15-minute conversation. We'll see if there's anything we can do to help or point you in the right direction. But let's jump into today's episode. I'm really excited to have Justin Voorhees, co-founder and CEO at Ignite Local. Justin, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's kind of dive in, right? The first thing we always do on this podcast is talk about the leader's journey. So talk to us about your background leading up to starting at Ignite Local.
Absolutely. So, it's funny. I recently did something like this for an MBA. I'm a candidate for an executive MBA right now. I'll finish up in October. So I just had to go through my whole story again and kind of, I tell the story of when I was 9, my mom said, happy birthday. Instead of an allowance, you're losing your allowance and I'm giving you a job. And so I started delivering a weekly newspaper, and I kind of determined that learning how to manage myself was kind of the first hurdle to overcome, how to, find the motivation.
It's probably still the toughest hurdle, right?
Absolutely. No one was breathing down my neck, making sure I got the job done. I was basically an independent contractor from the get-go. Right. And I had other jobs and worked under managers in the restaurant industry as I worked my way through school, became a manager out of school, started a few businesses, did general contracting, a few things before landing in the agency, which I started with my dad 11 years ago now. And I was kind of a younger guy in the space at that time. I may still look like I'm young, hopefully a little bit, but I was much younger then. And so being a manager of people who had more experience and more years working was a big challenge for me. But I just decided to learn as much as I can, be the best that I could be, and then set up good systems, have a lot of accountability and encouragement, but really show the work that I wanted to see done by everybody. And that's been one of my guiding principles.
Yeah.
But coming from Ignite Local, I was building up an agency or freelancing basically 15 years ago when I joined the space and started learning about SEO and web. And then I was kind of all in with one client, and they changed directions and was on my kind of, everything was turned upside down. And that's when my dad and I decided, you know what, let's just do this ourselves. I think we can do it better. I think we can serve these small businesses better than the companies that we've been working for. And that's
Usually
how
the case.
Yeah. And that's how Ignite Local started.
Nice. So you and your dad thought about this, because your model I'm sure has evolved since then. So talk to us about what your vision then is versus kind of where you're at today.
Sure. I think the guiding and founding principles of the company really have stayed constant. And the main one is doing business by the golden rule. We want to treat every business owner as we would want to be treated. We want to treat their money as if it was our money. So having that partnership mentality with our clients, a lot of them have said, and we have some video testimonials that they say this, we really come to feel like family. It feels like we're a part of their business. So we kind of become like a fractional CMO for the companies that we serve. We
Right.
bring a breadth of experience and a team of specialists in everything from SEO to paid advertising and social media, but their one rep really gets to know them and their business and grow with them. So I think that's been one of the things that really differentiates us from the crowd, is that
Right.
level of care and concern. And then also sticking to the 80-20 principle, I think, is very important for the small businesses and the mid-market businesses we serve, since we don't really serve the enterprise level of clients. We like small
Right.
business, and that's where we've stayed, even though we're a little bit more mid-market now than when we started. And following the 80-20 principle of doing, getting the most bang for the buck for our clients has been really important. And so while the mix of things that we do has certainly shifted over the last decade, especially now with all these emergent technologies and AI and incorporating all that, we still do try to focus on what's going to move the needle the most for our clients, what's really going to bring in revenue and increase their margins and get them more new customers from the internet.
Yeah. And honestly, that it's kind of what businesses live and die in. But I think one of the things, so I many different areas I kind of want to touch on with you, because local, right? And again, size of local does vary. And especially, I'm thinking about my own area here in Charlotte, where the mid-market space is growing right? All around, even where I live. So I get why you're leveling up there. It makes sense. But Justin, one of the things that's interesting to me is if you talk to most businesses, especially local businesses, right? Lead gen is their lifeblood. But one of the things that I've seen evolve over the last, I don't know, 5 or so years is that they're learning how to build continuity programs and back end on retention. Do you see that as well? Like I'm thinking about, HVAC companies, which were, one of our sister companies is involved in heavily, right? And they're building those maintenance programs. Are you seeing that more and more of local companies trying to build that?
Absolutely. Only a small handful of our clients have programs set up, but we've seen good numbers and engagement from those. And as most people who are familiar with business, can tell you, a lot of the best business comes from referrals, word of mouth, or repeat customers. And
100%.
your existing customer base is, the gold mine if you know how to mine it. And so absolutely. And that's one of the reasons we've kind of finally jumped on board with offering our own CRM to clients. I had kind of this false assumption that all of our clients were on CRMs already, and they've been on CRMs for a long time. And I was very surprised to find out that, I've literally heard this story twice in the last week. Hey, Mr. Business Owner, we're about to start offering a CRM. It's really great. Does cool things. What do you guys use for CRM? And they say, oh, I use my office gal right here. We don't need a CRM because I have her. And she says, CRM, please give me a CRM. I need it, please. So that's one of the ways that, not only can we track, hey, of all these calls and forms we're sending you, which are actual new customer leads, which are actual qualified leads. That's been a tough gap to solve, and the CRM is going to really help for that. So we can say, hey, we sent 60 calls, but once we go through them and tag them all, and we say, oh, well, there's actually 20 qualified new customer leads for you. So having the customer acquisition part of it, but then also the customer retention and engagement part of it. For automotive people, it's those service reminders. For home services, it could just be a regular checkup or a monthly newsletter or blog.
Just stay top of mind, right?
Exactly. So we're actively rolling those things out for our clients and seeing what people need. And
so it's interesting you say this. Just to back up what you said is, so Chase and I talked to a dental coach earlier this year, and he goes over speaking around the country, the whole thing, and he told us that I think it was 3 out of 4 or more practices do not have a CRM. They have management software, but to manage the practice, but it's not a CRM.
Right.
I was absolutely blown away by that. Right. And so what you just said to me is not a surprise now, because once I said, if they're not having it, and, home services, unless they're like, a big enough company that are on things like, Service Titan or, House Call Pro or something like that, it's, you're right. They don't have that. And those were traditionally not even CRMs. They were built to be, again, workforce management, right? Routing. So I totally get it. And I think you're going to find that they're going to come in droves, I think, into your CRM. So it's fantastic. And then you can help them, obviously, with most people, throw away all those old leads, and there's so much value in there, and people just don't understand. So good for you, Justin. I think it's fantastic. Well, tell me, so I need to shift, right, to make sure that we get some of these insights out of you, because you have a bird's eye view of a lot of different industry, home services, medical, wellness, that kind of stuff, automotive. What are you seeing in the industry, right? And the shifts in the industry over the last few years, right? Before we get into the emerging tech.
We service local service companies for the most part in the industry you mentioned. And there's been a couple big shifts lately. I'd say one of them is that Google Ads is a little bit less reliable in predictable ROI across all clients. We still do really well for most of them, but there's a couple that we're just having more trouble kind of achieving the ROI that we had in the past 5
more
10
competition's coming. Yeah,
it is coming. And then of course the big AI shift with the AI overviews and the summaries and the huge shift that was in the SEO industry. A lot of people were kind of reeling to deal with that. And so we've made that, central in everything that we do, from our initial site build through the ongoing services. And we start to see our little clients, show up in AI overviews in local searches and get some clicks that way. But just really understanding how people are searching and how it's changing is eye-opening. I was just recently at the Search Marketing Expo. It was their first in-person that they've done since COVID. And being able to hear all the insights and talk to other SEOs and PPC managers on what they're doing to shift was really helpful in helping us get ready for the future and become future-proofed ourselves.
Yeah. And so before we get into kind of how you're positioning Ignite Local there. Talk to me about now how you see AI and emerging tech affecting local businesses, because in some things that we hear, they're the earliest adopters, right? Because they're the most resource strapped, right? And then in other stories we hear is that they're the most hesitant. And I think the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle, and no one would probably be better at, seeing that firsthand than you.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we are seeing a bit of a shift as the generational ownership of small businesses is kind of going on in our country as we speak. And I think some of the people who have been like, you know what, I don't want to adopt a bunch of new technologies right now. I just like doing my service business. And those people are either, selling it to the next generation. And those guys are saying, hey, I need to get into this tech and whatnot. So there's definitely a shift towards wanting to adopt it, just not really knowing how. And I think that more of us service providers, SaaS and like B2B solution providers need to be smart in the way that we help them adopt it. People are sprouting up and saying, hey, this is how AI can work for you. And so we're baking AI into everything that we're delivering in terms of marketing and really expanding into business development in other ways, because we're seeing that a lot of these owners are still very actively working in their business. They don't really have time to work on their business in this way where they can spend the hours needed to think through, how can I automate? What can I automate?
What's the right strategy? And And again, that's why they have trusted people like you, right? Where do you think it fits in right now from a strategy standpoint? Because again, they have so many parts of their business, right? From inefficient processes to overloaded front desk people to, holes in their lead gen process, right? Everyone does, and no one's immune from it. And AI is, can plug a lot of these holes. So again, why we call them digital coworkers, right? Not meant to replace, meant to enhance, right? So What do you see?
Yeah. So great question, Brent. I mean, what I see is that people are acknowledging the need for it, especially as our general overall market here in the US is getting a little tougher. Prices are going up, competition is going up. We need to be more efficient. Like you said, I think the people who try to replace with AI are going to have that backfire on them. But
Yes,
like you
they
said,
are.
people who use AI to enhance, that's really the way to go. So what we're seeing is basically the need for more hours following up on these leads, qualifying them, making sure nothing gets missed, making sure nothing falls through the cracks. And that's something that AI is perfectly positioned to do. But it still does take that level of awareness in sales processes and in technology on how they can mesh. So we don't know everything and the client doesn't know everything, but together I believe that we do know everything on how this tech can help them solve their business challenges. So we just start with the discovery with the client. Hey, what do you most need help with right now? Is it answering the phone? Is it following up? And then we just design something kind of for them. What we've found though is that we can create little formulas. Automotive shops generally need this type of automation and follow-ups. Dental practices generally need this. So we can create these snapshots of the CRM and kind of have a starting place to work from and then customize it for their specific voice and for their specific needs and wants from there.
Let's think about Ignite Local. How do you see AI influencing how the direction you guys go? And where do you think the biggest opportunities are, right? Because, and again, Justin, I tell everybody on this podcast, you don't look out more than 18 months. No one can predict how fast things are going to change, right? We used to do 5-year plans, and I'm like, now it's like, even 2 years is probably asking too much.
Yeah, I agree with you. So my 6-month plan, I mean, we already have AI helping us just with copy, with some data analysis and these types of things, some ad optimization. Obviously, Google's baked that in. Going forward, it's mostly about how can we help make processes more efficient? How can we make sure more of the leads that we send to our clients turn into sales and customers and then recurring revenue for them? So that's the big shift. For me personally, in our business, what I'm most excited about and investing in right now is how to make some of our AI systems more agentic. How can I get them working kind of without me and independently? And so while I have some computer code that I've written to, give me snapshots and analyze data, now having an AI agent be able to pull that data, look at it, analyze it much more frequently than I can, and then look for smart recommendations to send to our team through a ticketing system, and then having a feedback loop where we check on the results of those changes that were made and see if they move the KPIs in the right direction, and have that be like an ongoing process. Because as we grow our client base, it becomes even more difficult for top level leadership to be able to give our special sauce to every single client. And we try to train our people to have what we have, and we absolutely do. But more and more, we're kind of doing the brain dump into our own AI models that we're training to think about client marketing campaign optimization the way that we do, the things that we look at. So having it watch and learn from us over the months that we've been training it, and then letting that deploy closely monitored, and then optimizing that, it kind of makes it so that the founders, my dad and I, who kind of have this unique knowledge set from serving hundreds and hundreds of clients over the past decade, and making it more scalable so that it's a tool that our team can access, instead of saying, hey, I need to ask Justin about this specific client. They can ask this bot that I've trained, and get a little more efficient, of course, than just having one me. So
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
those agentic systems, we're definitely excited about.
Yeah, yeah. And we call them digital twins, but it's so funny you say that, because one of the things that we talk about all the time is what we call the gray tsunami, right? Which is the baby boomer generation retiring off. And the next generation, there's just not enough people to fill that void and that knowledge transfer. And so I think that's one of the biggest gaps that I'm hoping that AI can help across all industries, right? Is that knowledge is key, right? Of storing somewhere so it can be passed down to the next generation of people. And I'm hoping we can use some sort of AI training models to pull that out, at least capture it before it goes off into a black hole and into retirement. So I think what you're talking about doing with you and your dad is getting that knowledge out and being able to share it with, as you grow your team. That's huge and a really smart thing to do, Joe.
Absolutely. I mean, I wish it was an optional thing, but I'm feeling now that it may be more of a absolutely required thing to be able to keep up and compete in the industry. Because a lot of people want to do what we do. They see the lifestyle that it can offer, and they want to do it. I feel like we should do more Instagram versus reality. Like, yes, I can go on vacation in Mexico and work on my computer and run my agency, but the truth is that most of my days I'm surrounded by 3 screens and a lot of people wanting a lot of things.
I was just going to say, I have 3 screens too. I mean, yeah, that all sounds good. Yeah. Can you do that, for a week sometime? Yeah. But it's not reality, right? Business still is people and people. I think AI is just a great tool. I always say, it's the equivalent when we used to do hand math and then you get the calculator. AI right now is that calculator that you just have to learn how to use it in the highest and best use. The exciting part is, I'm a glass half full person, is that if you find the right use cases, it's phenomenal, right? And so don't worry about the stuff down the road. I think that's the problem. There's a lot of fear mongering. I think right now it's a phenomenal tool if used the right way. And I think that we have so many use cases within our own implementation team. It's fun to see that stuff come to life. And it can be applied in so many ways.
It really can. And I think one of the things, Brent, that I would say to the people listening to your show is that, as someone a little more techie, and I finally hired someone more techie than me in my company to handle the tech, because I needed to be thinking about and doing other things. And a couple of us who are a little more techie are less impressed than I think maybe the average person with AI, just have been disappointed in some of the things that I've had it do. Mm-hmm. However, I will put a little caveat on that, because as we revisit the new iterations of these tools, even 6 weeks later, I run the same prompt or try to do the same thing, and the results are way, way better.
Way better.
I would say, find out what AI can help you with, keep using it, keep trying to use it, have it just be your personal assistant that you talk to throughout the day. Some things it'll help you with, some things it won't be able to. But as you keep trying and keep educating it and keep going back to it, you may find that its capabilities really improve over the last time you tried it. That's what my experience has been lately, especially having different AIs work together. Like recently I had GPT whip something up, and then as I opened up Google to create a new form for something, Gemini popped up and was like, hey, what do you want to do? And so I just copied and pasted the prompt that I've been working with, or the results from the prompt from GPT into Gemini. Boom, it created the form perfectly, saved me a bunch of time. And I was like, oh, this is great. Yeah. The robots are finally working together.
And I will tell you, you just kind of unlocked a little secret that we found out too, right? And probably by accident, we kind of did the same thing. But if you think about, and I don't know about you, we work in Google Docs a lot. What we found is ChatGPT is not the greatest at just getting in and creating your Google Doc the way the output comes out, but taking that output and putting it into Gemini. Gemini, because Google owns it, is great at that. You're right. Using things in conjunction is a huge hack that people really need. That, and that's why so many people we talk to just do ChatGPT, and I'm like, that's a mistake. And it's why you're getting so many what I call pie in the sky answers lately. It's been trained to just pat you on the back too much and not challenge enough. I put the same thing in, and Chase will tell you, I put the same thing in Claude, and Claude or Grok will, kind of rip me apart a little bit. Like, what are you thinking? Why are you doing this? Like, you could do this so much smarter and better. And ChatGPT is like, oh, that's brilliant, right? So some of that is, how deep you go with your prompts, and, prompt engineering is a big thing right now. But I think what you just laid out with Gemini, is the right thing, is trying the different models and just seeing what the output is.
Yeah, absolutely. And another hack I would say that is been really nice is asking the AI models to help you with your prompt engineering.
Yes.
If you ask it, hey, what's a good prompt to tell you to do this thing that I'm trying to do? And it'll say, oh, use this prompt and, answer these questions or fill out these variables and then send it to me. And when you do use its prompt, and you can do this between AI models as well as within the same model, but I think you'll find the results are pretty great.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chase captures a ton of prompts that we give out as part of our just free content, and just give people different stuff to play with. I actually had a podcast I'm going to have a podcast guest. He sent me one of his things that he does for cold outreach. And it's a 3-prompt thing. It does the research, it does the strategy, and then it does, hey, how can I make stuff way more personalized so it stands out? And he put it in a LinkedIn blog post. And I'm like, and I looked at his prompt and I'm like, I would bet you this is a top 1% prompt just in general. It had to be two pages of a Google Doc, the prompt. And it was just so well laid out, well thought out. And I go, if you put this in versus just something simple and you expect the same output, you're not going to get it. And so those are the kind of videos I think we're going to start sending out, just to give people more context that, like, hey, if you really do some homework up front and you really think about what you're asking it, to your point, and just have it keep building a badass prompt, it will do it. You just have to converse with it. And I tell people to use the voice, just talk to it. Right. Yeah. And I don't think enough people do that. And so I think, to your point, is what you put in is what you get out.
Absolutely. Like with most things.
Yeah.
Not going to change.
Yeah. Yeah. And the old tech thing, garbage in, garbage out. Right. But you put something really good in, you get something really good out. So last question I have for you is, I always ask this because we pull these insights out, but as a founder, if I gave you a magic wand, Justin, and you could use it for one thing to help either your clients or it's just something at Ignite Local, what would you use AI to do, to fix, to accelerate? It's almost like I'm giving you the genie in a bottle. You get one wish for the business.
I would say just that agentic model that I'm envisioning and working on, where it looks at all of our clients' KPIs. It identifies the ones that are at risk of becoming poor performers, and it makes recommendations, and or eventually, we'll be able to enact recommendations. Once I trust it enough, I'll give it that.
Right. Or you give it a set of rules, and if this, then yeah.
Right. But for now, it's tell the human will be the filter and do it. But then you also follow up on it and say, was this a good recommendation or a bad recommendation? Get that feedback loop established based solely on KPI and how they're affected. That would definitely be my wish. I mean, would I love to increase my own sales and things with AI? Yes, but the core of Ignite Local, our purpose and what we feel is our value, is that we are relentlessly committed to just giving our small business owners and medium-sized business owners the most bang for the buck. So I want to make sure that every single dollar that they give to us is returned to them tenfold. And the more help that I can have to do that as we grow, the better. So that's why I'm focused on training the A models. And so if I could wave a magic wand right now, Brent, I'd have that robot be looking at every campaign every day, flagging people who aren't up to our high rubric of excellence, and then telling us what we can do about it, and then measuring the results of those recommendations.
Absolutely. And it's totally possible. It's funny. Everything we build is exactly kind of what you said, is that right now, everything is, there's checkpoints. Right. If we build agentic, there's checkpoints. We call it human in the loop, right? Yes. The human has to check it before it goes to that next stage, right? But the alerting system is easy, right? If these KPIs drop by X%, right? Alert the human. I think right now that's a very doable thing. So I think that what you're thinking about is going to come to fruition pretty quick. Justin, I like that idea. And I think that's the smart kind of thinking that AI and a use case that AI can really help teams be better. And if you're better, you're going to get more referrals, right, from your clients because like, look, they're taking care of me. That's your golden rule. It's fantastic. And
Absolutely.
I really think most of the people that I have on the podcast think that way of that golden rule, which is, how do I delight my clients because I'm going to win business? No doubt if I do that. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Justin, love what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. And, again, everybody in the local market, hopefully they get to see this and they get in touch with Ignite Local, but tell them how to get in touch with you. We'll put all the links in the show notes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Best ways, go into our website, ignitelocal.com, and feel free to reach out there. My email is justinv@ignitelocal. Would love to hear from you if you have any questions. But Brent, it's been really great talking to you. Thank you so much for the invite to come here. And I love what you guys are doing, and we'll definitely keep following.
Absolutely. Thank you, Justin. And thank you everyone for watching. And we will see you on tomorrow's episode. But if you're looking to future-proof your business, keep following, keep watching. And we appreciate you all. Thank you.
Cheers.
If you're ready to embrace change and lead with innovation, be sure to subscribe and never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Future Proof Podcast.